Welcome to Vol Stars, where we talk everything markets and those who make them. Today's episode brought to you by the Agentic AI Foundation, a joint effort between OpenAI, Anthropic, Block, Google, Microsoft, AWS, Bloomberg, and Cloudflare, dedicated to deploying agents in all sectors across all regions of the U.S. to revolutionize the way U.S. businesses do work and even how communities thrive. Also brought to you by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, dedicated to deploying agents in all sectors across all regions of the U.S. to revolutionize the way U.S. businesses do work and even how communities thrive. Don't just eliminate your workers, eliminate them. And finally, by GammaStrike.com, providing actionable real-time data for every type of trader. You've tried the rest. Now try the best, GammaStrike.com. And because fuck our producer, Ron, he's the reason we recorded a day late because he was getting piss drunk watching the Bills touch each other's balls. I'm JFresh and joined by our co-hosts, Gherk and Dork. Let's get into the market overview.
That intro that was excellent. The double entendre.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
I thought that came to me 15 minutes before we had to get on here, so I thought that was pretty good.
It's always when the best creations come to life, is when you have 15 minutes.
Well, yeah, I think that's pretty much the reason all my kids are here.
And why all my kids aren't? Wow.
Maybe. Wow. All right. I'm not really sure where to start on this. I guess, should we start talking about JPOW?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the only thing to talk about, especially after what happened this morning. I mean, obviously the tensions between Trump and JPOW have printed my bet on Polymarket. And that's, to me, all that matters. However, yes.
You just described the entire moral ineptitude of our country and what we've devolved into.
Yeah.
All that matters is that I won my bet on Polymarket. Anyway, keep going.
Well, I mean, that's accurate. That is in fact all that matters.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I mean, it's another big scary clash between the Fed and Trump, and this definitely isn't the first time we've run into this.
Well, what's interesting, though, is that they full on subpoenaed him, and it was just the Fed. And the thing is I was mentioning this earlier, this really does bring into question sort of the independence of the Fed. And that's, I think, the scariest part, because we were talking about it, like, really, like, with JPOW, he's done really soon, and he's coming out with these statements and shit. But, like, the real concern the market has, I think, isn't necessarily JPOW in particular. It's just the implication for the independence of the Fed. If, they go through and just, start basically dragging them through the mud like this, then
just so our listeners are completely aware of what it is we're talking about, which I probably should have done at the beginning. Jerome Powell came out last night with a recorded video from like the official like Fed marketing room, whatever they do, with his purple tie and everything. He actually looked like a ghoul. Looked like he was halfway dead already. But I'm sure that's just because he was sleepy, because he's an old man. But he basically came out and said, we've gotten subpoenaed for, I believe it was just it's the renovation of the Federal Reserve, like the ridiculously expensive renovations. And it seems like a reach. It's like all the other sort of investigations that have been floating around with people. The last Federal Reserve investigation was what's her face?
yeah, for the mortgage fraud or something.
Yeah. Well, this is actually, you just connected some dots for me that I hadn't connected until just now. Because the person who initiated that last investigation about mortgage fraud, somebody look up was it Cook? I can't remember which Fed president it was. But anyway, the person who initiated the investigation into mortgage fraud was none other than Bill Pulte, the Twitter. What was his original title before he was the Twitter? I keep thinking anthropologist, but he was the
The Twitter philanthropist.
full on
Give
rapist.
everybody like a
Yes.
few bucks or whatever.
He's
Yeah.
Bill Pulte, the Twitter full on rapist. Went after Cook. I believe it was Cook. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Thank you, Ron. Ron actually did his fucking job for once. I cannot believe it. Yeah, so he went after Cook, and that ended up going there. Well, the funny thing about that was then like people did investigations about his family and found out that like his parents also had claimed like multiple residences as their primary residence because he's part of the Pulte heir, he's an heir to the Pulte fortune and they're home builders, so they know all the loopholes, and of course they had looped some of those holes. And so now actually it's Bill Pulte once again from the top rope coming after JPOW, or I guess all of them, or I don't even really know exactly who or what he's going after, but he has initiated apparently these investigations. So whatever reason, I don't know how. I mean, we all know Pulte doesn't have. I mean, he's never actually been his own man. He's always lived in the shadow of other people, mostly his father, but now he's living in the shadow of Trump and trying to think, what can I do to make my father happy? Maybe he'll love me.
He's a weird little sycophant. Even before Trump, he was all over Ryan Cohen and what was it, BBBY, and yeah.
Yeah. Although speaking of Ryan Cohen and sycophants, he's really doing the whole he's doing the Elon Musk light kind of thing. Like, oh, he can negotiate this ridiculous pay package. I'm going to negotiate a ridiculous pay package. Well, maybe we could talk about that when GME has earnings later, or, at some point. But not to derail the conversation, but I'm just, connecting lots of dots here. But okay, so James Pulte versus the Federal Reserve. It seems like this is round 2. Trump has come out and claimed that he knows nothing about it or little about it and doesn't really care. And I think some of the action today, the price action today, because we're recording late, this is Monday. So Monday's already happened. Obviously, the stock market went straight up after it dropped from that news, or for whatever news, right? Because it could also just be foreign markets doing foreign markets things, because they're kind of doing that again tonight a little bit. But it seemed to recover quite nicely because, Trump came out and said, I don't know, it's just Pulte versus the Fed round 2. And everyone said, who cares? Pulte's a nobody. Is that fair? Am I missing something? I'm still trying to make sense of it myself, to be honest.
I mean, well, Trump's been like denying any involvement with the DOJ investigation into JPOW, but like it's obviously just a continuation of the feud they started, back in February when Trump was like, cut rates right now to nothing, and JPOW was like, I'm not going to do that. But I think I thought it was refreshing to see JPOW's press release following the indictment charge, like the indictment being filed. Because he did something I feel like I haven't seen somebody in government do in some time, which is just stand up for himself and his job and his position and what's expected of him. And don't get me wrong, like he's not been a great Fed chair, right? Like he's no Volcker or anything like that. He's not wowed anyone. He's more of an Arthur Burns, but he's at least taking responsibility for his role and being like, this is my job. And I think probably more importantly than any of the interpersonal stuff is that this is a big threat to how America's economy works. This is a big threat to the quality of our debt, to the belief in the system that supports people buying our debt. And what's ironic about it is Trump's administration's entire push, I mean, tariffs, everything, has been to try to drive down a potential spike in the top end of the yield curve, the uncontrollable, right? Like, we've always had the Fed put on the short end, and then tariffs, acted as kind of like Trump's put on the top end. And now, the tariffs are under threat, and now he's doubling down on that and threatening the Federal Reserve. And we're just a big bank, and that's our biggest bank. And so, removing their independence, even if Trump doesn't like the idea of somebody else having more power than him or equivalent power to him but separate from his sphere of influence, is just a really big mistake. I mean, he's got all these plans. He's got an arch he needs to build himself. He's got a ballroom. These things aren't free. And financing them requires a stable Fed, a stable central bank that's reliable and can be counted on to ensure liquidity in our treasury markets, and can be ensured to at least follow a set of rules, whether they're wrong or right, follow a set of rules in determining our interest rates. And I mean, if he wins, then he puts in a stooge and he drops rates to nothing, right? If he loses,
I think I know the name of that stooge.
yeah. We might. He tends to dissent a lot, so he makes himself very obvious. But I mean, even if he loses, it just doubles down the loss, and now you've gone ahead and done the wrong thing, and you've threatened the Fed, and you've threatened the security of the American financial system. And so I think it's a really misplaced attack. I think it's a big mistake, and I think obviously equity markets didn't react to it today, right? Equity markets reacted to, Tim Apple putting his wiener in Google or something.
Yeah, sure, all that stuff.
But like every other market reacted to it today. Gold up almost 3%, silver up.
Banks were rough, right? Weren't they?
Yeah, financials did not do well. And then in addition to that, he's talking about capping interest rates on
banks. So it's
credit cards.
Yep.
Which people love to hear, but it's a ridiculous idea. It's not capitalistic. It's like probably the worst application of socialist economic policy, right? Like, we're just gonna make credit cheaper for everybody who can get credit because they deserve.
Well, I mean, the net effect of that is just they're just gonna claw back credit, right?
Yeah,
anybody who they deem is riskier than 10%, they just will rescind credit to those people, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's what I would do.
It's going to make credit even tighter and more inaccessible, which and it's going to be for everyone.
Fun fact. I was mulling through the Fed H8 tables today because I'm a sick fuck. And guess what's down year over year?
I'd love to know.
Consumer credit.
Well, I mean, I feel like the consumer has been getting kind of battered anyway over the last year. I mean, inflation, despite the BLS's prints, has not been easy on the consumer's bottom line. And I mean,
so I want to make sure, just from a historical perspective, I want to make sure we're being fair to Jay Powell and giving him his due that he may or may not deserve. Because if there's anything that has been a trend with Trump, it is that everybody grows a spine the second they leave and not a moment sooner.
Mhm.
And so I think it's important to put into context, like J-Pow is leaving when? In May
Yeah.
or June? It's not one of those. But he's going to still be on the board, right? Or is he
Yep.
completely out? Yeah, he's on the board, I thought, until like 2028.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this may be one of the first cases where somebody in political power who wasn't already a political enemy of Trump directly, right? I mean, he's kind of in the middle there. Yeah, I mean, he's waited a really long time to grow a spine, but he's at least kind of moved the bar a little bit farther beyond like I'm about to leave and none of this matters anymore. So, fuck my boss.
I mean, honestly, well, first of all, I think a really clear and important thing to let the average person know is that Trump is not his boss.
Yeah.
Congress is his boss, and he works at their behest, not the executive branch at all. And so he's really not answerable to Trump in any way. Like Trump can stomp his feet and make demands, and I mean, that's why there's so much tension between the two of them, is because he has, and he's always been, actually, honestly, for the last like 2 years, as Trump has made statements regarding him, he has always just been like, well, I don't like, he doesn't care what he says. He has no power over me. I operate under the rule of law. Like, that's it. He can't get rid of me. He can't touch me. And so he's kind of insulated in a way that probably a lot of other government employees are not. And that's intentional. That's because the Fed is designed so that the executive branch can't touch it.
Yeah, I don't really get it either because I just see like as far as a Fed chair goes, he's been pretty accommodating of every president that he's gotten. And I know there's a lot of discussion about, yes, things are slowing down. I think that's become abundantly clear now. We haven't really had any employment growth in the last, excuse me, in the last 5 months. People try to hand wave it away and say, well, the population's also not growing because ICE is shooting them all. I mean, deporting them all. For those of you that didn't connect the dots on my intro, that's what I was getting at there. But anyway, the economy is clearly slowing down. And there are arguments that you can make to say, oh, the Fed needs to do more. But what can there's this, I think there's this really bankrupt idea. And this is kind of like the reason that credit is so out of whack in general, is that there's this idea that the Fed can do magic, right? They can do anything. And the prescription we need right now is lower rates. But what if lower rates doesn't fix the problem?
It hasn't so far. Yields are right where they were when the Fed started cutting.
What's actually crazy is the relative spread on yields has actually gotten worse.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
I
it's
mean,
almost
well,
like trillions of dollars in corporate issuance wouldn't be a good thing for federal bond yields.
yeah, I don't know. I think it's all a little
Sorry,
cockamamie, but
I'm nerding out.
No, I mean it's a really good point, and one
Yeah.
I don't know that we'll be able to get to today, but one I certainly think is poignant that we've talked about before.
I mean,
yeah, for sure.
it's definitely going to force a position where credit gets tighter, right? If he continues to attack the Fed, credit is just simply going to get tighter because people are going to get scared. And mortgage rates are going to go up, not down. And I actually, there was actually like a really, to bring it a little bit more back to the consumer, and how this directly impacts them. We're already, like, if you look, I posted a chart here in chat from Bloomberg. the number of people who currently expect not to be able to make their minimum debt payment over the next 3 months is at the highest level since the peak of the pandemic. And it has just rocketed up through the end of 2025. Shockingly, right in line with the Fed's rate hikes.
You mean rate cuts?
Rate cuts, sorry.
Yeah, no.
Well, I mean, are they?
Okay, yeah, we
I
could
guess
get
that's
into
the better
that.
question.
Well, but this does put the Fed in a bind, right? Because in terms of vehicles to absorb that issuance, there is the ultimate vehicle, which is, of course, the money printer. Like that's they used it in 2008, they used it in 2020. Like that's what everyone is saying is the ace in the hole, and what the federal government wants control of is that ability to absorb debt issuance en masse, so that way they can debase the dollar even further on all kinds of stupid shit.
I would say, and I'm basing this largely on a tweet from Bill Ackman, so take this for what it's worth. But he, being the slow person that he is, has finally come to the realization that the only possible non-painful way out of the current hole that we're in is massive growth, and
Yeah.
has been tweeting about it very recently, quite vociferously. And I still feel like, with the AI story and the tons of investments into AI infrastructure build out, yada, 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 everyone's still hopeful and clinging to the idea that we're going to naturally grow our way out of this through, basically magic. Um, so I don't know that anybody's actually resigned to the fact that, oh, the Fed will bail us out. I think maybe in the back of their mind, they're like, well, if none of this shit works out, we tried our best and the Fed will take care of the rest. But I don't think people are quite at that point yet where they're just like, the Fed needs to just buy it all and devalue the dollar. I think that would still be a bad outcome for people.
I think that having that available, though, right? I think it's the matter of control over it more than it is like we need it. It's just we want it.
Yeah, have you looked at the price of stocks over the last 20 years? 18 years?
Yes.
That's the Fed put.
Oh yeah. No, I mean it's actually for the past 25 30 years is what it is.
Well, we had some hiccups along the way, so I'm kind of taking like the baseline of like 2009, 2010 bottom. So
Okay.
15, 16 years. Yeah. Um,
I mean, that's the problem, right? Is inflation's it's the uh, it's the break point between where modern monetary theory works and where it falls apart. And at least the sense that inflation is somehow checked by an independent agency separate from the government is what allows us to perpetuate the myth that modern monetary theory works. And if we destroy that, or even just influence it via coercion, we suddenly remove the brakes on what people believe inflation is. And a lot of inflation is just what people believe it is.
Oh yeah.
uh, okay. I'm not, there's a lot here, and maybe we don't need to unpack it all. But one thing I do want to say something about modern monetary theory, or yeah, I guess that's what
Yeah.
it's called.
Yeah. MMT.
Um, we'll call it MMT from now on, just because it's a mouthful. That's what she said. One thing I think that MMT got right was saying that all of your previous dogma needs to be thrown out the window, and we need to think about what actually happens and build our theories around reality. And I really like that part of MMT.
Just
But the problem is that it very quickly created its own set of dogma that now is immutable. Reality be damned. And it's become like the same, it has all the same problems of all the other economic theories, where it's becoming a theory in search of a reality instead of a theory based on reality. And so I think the economy is a very dynamic thing. Things change. Like, for example, now, there aren't very many times in history where we've had over 100% debt to GDP. And certainly not a time where reserves, like, high quality reserves had to be as high as they have to be. And so you're in a different dynamic situation that has different mechanics. And so you always need to update your mechanical model to match the reality that you're in. And so, yeah, I thought modern monetary theory was kind of interesting, maybe 5 years ago, kind of cool. But it's ultimately become the same mentally bankrupt thing that all the other economic theories are.
you also can't look at US debt to GDP in such an insular way. It's global debt to GDP that matters. And
Right now.
globally we're at double what the US is. Yeah. But I mean, if you're talking about capital flight to other markets, and if investors are going to chase yields for the benefits of their portfolio, you know, worse debt situations in other countries are going to offer greater opportunity. And that alone, if we're going to do everything in our power to drive our rates across the curve down as hard as we can, and if we are even somehow successful, that money would simply leave.
I would say we've already been as successful as we can be.
I agree. Yeah.
The fact that we've grown our money supply without the Fed's help by like $1 trillion in the last year is insane to me. With the consumer not growing hardly at all, when 70% of our economy is consumption.
Well,
I
we
mean,
got.
it's yeah.
Mm, you're right. I think something. This is where I think the tariff decision, and I guess we should talk about it because it does affect this.
We'll call that geopolitics because
Yeah,
that came up. Yeah.
we actually don't know if we're getting a decision on tariffs this week. Simply, the Supreme Court says, or we're releasing opinions on this date, and one of the opinions might be tariffs.
Correct.
And we got really two very conflicting statements from both Trump and Basant. Basant said Treasury is sitting on ample reserves. We have no problem paying back the tariffs we've received if push comes to shove. Trump came out and said the exact opposite. Trump is like, we can't pay this shit back. You're going to create an economic crisis. This is a national security threat. And I think
fair, but if you polled both of them, which one do you think could estimate the current TGA within $15 billion?
Oh, like if you asked Trump and Trump has no idea what's in his piggy bank at any.
Trump would be like 11 billion trillion.
Basant probably knows that shit down to the penny. But the thing here is like, I think the market, especially equities, have baked in all the bullshit Trump has said into what tariffs really represent. The reality is we've taken in like a few $100 billion in tariffs. It's not that much money, especially not when you look at what we spent.
Yeah, but you have to annualize it.
Yeah, well, that's
take
the
the
thing.
best
That's what the
month
market's doing.
and you annualize it.
The market is
That's-
annualizing these returns.
That's what all the AI labs are doing, and it's
Analyzing.
working.
And they're ignoring the fact that trade is slowing due to the tariffs over time.
Yes.
And they're just like, this is the yield on tariffs, and this is going to be its yield 10 years out into the future, and we're pricing that in. And what we're more importantly, it's acting as this big damper to the top end of the yield curve. I mean, I think we're all pretty much in agreement that the 10-year yield should probably be somewhere around 6% right now.
Yeah,
at a minimum. I think that should be like the baseline, and in reality, probably somewhere in the mid sevens.
Mid sevens, I might start looking to move to another. I might start looking at the 1,000 Talents program in China. See, you might get a couple milli to start.
I don't know if you've seen our fiscal situation, but I was being generous with mid sevens. But the thing is when that's gone, the thing that the market decided, okay, we can price this in, we can still be bullish, we can still drive this AI bubble, we can still fund all of this, trillions of dollars of infrastructure while keeping our financial system stable and liquid. That goes away. Poof, it's gone, right? And like the reality is not a lot of money actually shifts hands, but the hope of what that money could turn into is out the window. And
well, I mean, you create serious the thing is the higher those rates go, the more competition that equities have, right, in the growth race. Because if I could grow my capital 7% annualized with bonds, like now that puts a clock on equities. If they don't have a CAGR of 7%, then they're behind.
They already don't.
Look,
nobody's recognized that yet.
Yeah, like the earnings yield on the S&P 500 is already below the 10-year bond.
Okay, that's just like straight price appreciation, because that's all anybody cares about in the equity market.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing equities have going for it, is that their prices
momentum.
have appreciated.
Yeah, no, it's not. No, dividends are gone. So the thing is buybacks are everything because they're the tax advantage, but I think it's just stupid. But that growth rate
buybacks are also gone.
For now.
Well, no, hold on. That's only in the defense sector.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And that's only still a threat and also meaningless.
So, but the buybacks, right? The buyback programs for these mega large companies are pretty much the one thing keeping the indexes, the major indexes and pensions and all that from being sad and going to risk-free yield, is that they do aid to price appreciation. And it's in the same way as a dividend, right?
I think that undercounts like the retail effect that's going on.
Well, sure, there's some of that, but like
I think people are pretty pissed off at retail. It's just it already happened once in 2021 and it was novel, so everyone talked about it. But now they're all just like waiting. They want it to die because it just hurts, and there's nothing fun to say about it. It's just like retail's at it again. Like they are, but they're kind of.
They are enjoying the momentum of their gains, right? I mean, they have.
Yes, it's the same thing though. That's the same.
And then they're leveraged more, and then they're up more, and they're leveraged more, and they're starting to. I mean, we're at a point where retail really does have they're having a big impact ever since April. They've had a huge impact on the market. I mean, I would argue that retail squeezed investment banks and hedge funds out of their like tariff uncertainty shorts, which were extensive, and they just squeezed them right the fuck out, and then they've just kept levering up because no one's gonna. I mean, with all the. I mean, I'll just call it propaganda. With all the propaganda surrounding AI, why would they ever sell, right? And even if they feel threatened, and we've seen plenty of threats pop up, like how are we going to finance this? What's going to happen to earnings in these absolutely cyclical sectors like semiconductors, when everybody's bought, the H100s they're going to buy? Those earnings are going to nosedive, and people are discussing this and they're scared of it, and you hear analysts talking about it, but I kind of explained it, I thought, really well last night. I was just like, we're in a new paradigm where bulls are too scared to sell. Because if you let go of that stock, what if, right? And what if has paid off so well over the last 2 years that I mean, you'd almost have to be stupid to let go of the potential opportunity.
That's
And
what I'm
so
saying. That's the
until the
timer, though.
idea is dead, I think it persists.
So one thing, and I don't necessarily love sharing these graphs, but I guess I will because I made them myself anyway. But this is from the Fed Z tables, and maybe we'll pin this. I published a version of it, but it basically, the Fed Z tables is essentially, household financials. And one thing I will note, I think I copied and pasted it earlier in the chat before we started talking. One thing I will note is, yes, like household money is going straight up, but it does seem to be kind of slowing a little bit. Uh, it went up, and this is cash. This is not like stocks or housing value or anything like that. It's just how much cash do houses have, or households have. And it's been going straight up, but it seemed like, in quarter 3 of 2025, because this data is massively delayed, it seemed to be slowing down. And so if we have a continuation of that, not only are you gonna get, we're gonna find a top in terms of how much leverage they're able to take, but also we're gonna find a bottom in rates on bonds, because they buy a lot of those bonds, and they like to balance their portfolios as a percentage of cash to bonds to stocks, et cetera. And so if their cash stops growing, their bonds stop growing, and the treasuries bonds don't stop growing.
Yep.
So it's just an interesting point to look at. It's a little blip at the end there. We can publish it if you want. Just kind of, looking for, when does this retail Momo end? I think it might end when it has to. I mean, we haven't had job growth in 5 months, right? Really. So we've had wage growth, but not job
It's
growth.
so moderate, though.
Yeah.
I don't
Agreed.
think wage growth is keeping pace with inflation at this point.
It's close, yeah. I would have to look.
It's definitely tighter than it was in 2024.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I still think it just comes down to the price appreciation question, right? Like, if the stock market, I mean, even now, right? If we just look at the 2 year, 3.5%, right? If the market does start stalling out, because let's just say, stock buybacks do lighten up, right? And investor sentiment starts to sort of waver, and that price appreciation isn't there anymore, I think people will be looking at bonds. I mean, they're priced, even though they're really low, they're priced such that people will start getting into them. And I think that's when the rug gets pulled, right? I think we get that whiplash once the bond market is sufficiently liquid to do so, which right now it's not really.
Maybe, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's a portfolio allocation thing. And I think that, I mean, right now, the US household is at something like 82% stocks to 18% bonds. And usually it's like 60-40.
Yeah, that's exactly that. That needs to, once that rotates. Yeah,
So some of that will rotate, but a lot of that will rotate simply from the stock market declining. And so what you need is not the current dollars going more into bonds. You need the future dollars to go into bonds. And if there's no future dollars because nobody's making dollars, either the banks or the Fed, right? I mean, we have to make literally I say this a lot, but every year the Treasury sells 2 trillion in bonds and gives back 1 trillion in cash. So that difference, if everybody's trying to maintain a set allocation in bonds every year, that difference must be made up somewhere else. And that's made up in either the Fed buying bonds, or the banks growing the money supply through the issuance of loans, right? And right now we're issuing loans about $1 trillion a year. It's filling the gap. So rates are kind of static, right? You get your 1 trillion goes back into buying half the new bonds, and then the growth buys the other half, right? But if the growth slows, what buys the new bonds?
Yeah, it's a good way
And
to
that's
put
why
it.
people like Bill Ackman and people like Trump, once after he got into office, he's like, oh shit, we need to grow. Everybody, when they actually sit down and actually do all the math, be like, the only way out is growth, because no one's going to buy all these bonds unless we just make more money. And either it's going to be natural growth or it's going to be the Fed printing. So, all right, let's move on to everybody's favorite topic. Let's get this out of the way. Dork's dildo collection.
Ugh, skip. I don't want to talk
Whoa,
about
whoa, whoa, whoa! Why don't you want to talk about what?
That's
Dude,
really rude.
it. I know.
I'm very proud.
We have to talk about yours all the time.
Yeah. Well, I'm in charge. And
All right, we're gonna skip.
Look, man, I spent months on this.
AI's a flop. It sucks. CES sucks. It's always sucked. All right.
CS was shockingly dull.
Do we want to talk about the Iran tariffs that happened?
Does Iran? I have a question about this one. Does Iran affect trade with anyone?
Well, what Trump said was anybody who does trade with Iran.
Yeah.
Which is basically all of Eurasia.
Sanctions. Well, tariffs. They're the same
tariffs,
shit, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I feel like at this point, nobody cares.
Who's Iran's largest trading partner? Just China?
Probably China.
You think China gives a flying fuck what Trump
Russia.
says?
China and Russia and all the people that...
I mean, what's Iran making? Dirt and oil?
They don't make dirt. They just have dirt.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's made through the process of erosion, but I guess they don't have a lot of water.
Is it?
That anymore.
It's just erosion just moves the dirt from one place to another.
So their top export clearly is crude oil, natural gas, petrochemicals. Yeah.
Did you chat GPT that? Because everybody already knows the only thing that comes out of Iran is oil.
Yeah. Which is what I said.
And actually really smart people that like math.
Wait,
which is the saddest part of it all.
Okay, so let's see. Top 10 exports, plastics, plastic articles, fruits,
That's
nuts,
all derivative of oil. It's
ore,
all oil,
slag,
dude.
ash, mineral fuels, iron and steel, organic chemicals, aluminum, copper.
You're so far down the list now.
That's the top 10. Salt, sulfur, stone cement, and then zinc. I can post the source for you nerds.
Oil and then the rocks from which the oil is drawn. Okay, so I mean, and the person they're shipping most of that oil, oil and dirt. That's what I said. And so the thing they're shipping most of that, the person they're shipping most of that to is China, right? China's where all that's going.
Yep.
And does China, just correct me if I'm wrong, China still controls 90% of the rare earth elements on the planet? And they're refined.
I don't think we found more underneath the mattress. So yeah.
I mean, there are plenty
of them. I've heard there's a lot in Greenland.
There's plenty of them other places, like Greenland. However, those aren't refined. They're not even out of the ground. So back to my original statement, 90%. So China can do whatever the fuck they want, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just checking. Because our entire economy is based on an AI trade, which is reliant heavily on the existence of chips, which are all made using rare earth elements that all come from China.
The chips themselves are also made outside of the US largely.
China controls 90 to 92% of the global separation and refining capacity. Oh, okay. Sorry, I was a little short. So yeah, I feel like China can just do whatever they want, whenever they want, however they want, and if Trump balks, they'll go export controls on rare earth elements, and then Trump has to be quiet and be a good boy. Or Trump's narcissism gets in the way of that, and he goes, "No, I'm going to do outlandish shit," and then Basant has to come in and be like, "No, you need to be a good boy," and then he goes, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean all that."
I feel like Basant hasn't really been on his rounds in the media lately. He's been real quiet.
He's been busy trying to keep Trump from invading Greenland and attacking the Fed, I think. Maybe. Well, he's not been successful. Speaking of Greenland.
Yeah,
what does
geopolitics,
so
let's get into it.
America already has like unilateral rights to build bases in Greenland. We can do whatever the fuck we want there because we have a treaty with Denmark from the 50s that we signed after World War II in order to, you know, protect the world from the Soviets. We used to have a lot of bases there. Now we have like one NORAD base with like 150 people on it. And I wonder why. Maybe that's because the idea that Greenland is somehow this utopia and green paradise is false. And it's really just a big block of rock covered by a mile thick ice sheet that nobody wants to fucking be anywhere near. Now, Trump apparently wants this really badly for security reasons that are already covered by our prior treaty. But no, this time we need to own it. And the only reason being is Trump wants to be like, look at all these rare earth minerals we now have access to as Americans.
A mile under the ice.
Yeah, but that's the caveat. Those are still all under a mile thick sheet of ice.
Is it a mile thick? I actually don't know.
Now, can America steal a country
do your job
from 600 Inuit natives? Yes, and we've proven that several times throughout history. However, is it worth stealing? Like, is it worth, like, why do we want to buy a big block of ice? And then if we do get it, what are we going to do with it? Are we going to protect the world from the Soviets?
What Soviets? There's no more Soviets.
I'm aware.
Often mile thick ice sheet. Holy shit.
So
who's going to dig down a mile? That doesn't make sense.
What a
okay, so Silicon Valley saying they want to create a new town there to mine all of the shit there is probably pretty stupid.
Yeah.
Global warming.
Well,
Ron.
You know,
global warming's not real, Ron.
I'd love to see Mark Zuckerberg get out there with a fucking
all of the global warming
and try to melt his way down to the bedrock.
I'm talking to Ron here right now. Hold on. All of the global warming alarmists, including Al Gore, told us we'd all be fucking dead by now. And they told me not to even have children because how could I be such an asshole to bring children to this hellscape? And here my children are.
And here this hellscape is.
So obviously global warming is false.
Yeah.
Even though I teach it in my thermofluids classes when it's relevant, talking about buoyant-driven flow. Anyway.
Buoyant-driven flow is my favorite topic of discussion.
That is for your wife, too. Sorry, fiance.
She loves it.
Cream always rises to the top.
That's exactly the ultimate. That's like the magnum opus of the discussion is when one of us says that. Yeah, the Greenland thing's kind of weird. I think that it has a lot more to do with the sphere of influence and this whole idea of forming a legacy than anything else. I don't think we're going to dig a mile deep pit and throw all the billionaires in there to go because they yearn for the mines. I think that it's purely for a mixture of sphere of influence and leaving behind a legacy of adding a state to the country, which hasn't happened in quite some time. So
we have a lot of like Puerto Rico.
Wait, I thought we were co-opting all of Venezuela's dog shit economy.
You see, it's boring to turn a territory into a state, and yeah,
Cuba makes more sense than Greenland.
What about Guam?
Yeah, there's a list. Yeah,
So
All right.
I don't know. It's something about
Okay.
Greenland, but
We hit a lot of the big dots here. Anything else in the market overview anybody wants to discuss? Anything burning before we move on to earnings?
Didn't Jensen Huang bust out some more hype about his Vera Rubin setup?
Yeah, he did. I thought nobody wanted to talk about your dildos, but I imagine that to mean anything related to AI. But if it's just you acquiring smart dildos from CES, then I certainly won't have no desire to talk about that. So yeah, it was actually really interesting as a thermal engineer. A lot of interesting things that came out of it. So number one, his keynote was not like any of the other keynotes. I've been listening to people who went there and their accounts of what happened and saying that basically it was really underwhelming and it kind of the whole thing kind of flopped. Like trying to get people to applaud for anything was really hard to do. Apparently there were reports that people were leaving halfway through it, which did not happen at his previous keynotes. It was also kind of weird because most of the things that he introduced during his keynote, he'd already talked about a few months before, because I think people who follow NVIDIA know that they ended up having, like, instead of 1 or 2 of their little events that they normally do, they had like 3 or 4 last year. So they were just like having event after event and just trying to keep the hype going. And so I think everybody was just kind of like, yeah, he tried to like bring out robots. He did some interesting stuff with self-driving. So there were a couple things that happened that actually moved the markets. One was he showed like some self-driving stuff that they had developed. Basically, because we already have known from the last year or so that they've been developing sort of like this digital playground where robots of all shapes and sizes can play in. And the idea is that you create artificial data and artificial events for these things to learn on, which hopefully will be cheaper than real events and also capture all of the variants of reality. And so they had like some demonstration of their, I don't know, I'm not really sure how to say it. It's like alpha mayo or alpa mayo. It's like mayonnaise, but with alpacas. I'm not sure what the deal is.
Sounds
Alpa
tasty.
Mayo, something is their like self-driving platform. They basically came out with Tesla's FSD and did it for a lot like cheaper. And who knows? They did a demo, and hopefully we've all seen enough demos at this point to never trust a demo, because they're always fucked. But anyway, so that was one thing that kind of like hit Tesla for a while. That's since recovering, because why not? The other thing was that they mentioned was actually really relevant to me as a thermofluids guy is mentioned the Vera Rubin rack was, in terms of power dissipation, was quite similar to the Blackwell rack, but a little bit more. I think the Blackwell is like 120 and this is like 140 kilowatts, which is a lot of energy or a lot of power to dissipate from one rack. I mean, the power density is
That's
quite
crazy.
high. For both of them, right? But what he said, so I remember what he said for Blackwell. He said Blackwell, it was water coming in at 20 C and leaving at 40 C at 2 liters a second, I think it was, which was insane. Which would still require chillers and things like that, and all of the infrastructure, evaporative cooling, things like that. But then he came out here and he said, "Oh, the inlet temperature of the water is 45 degrees C." That's all he said. He's like, "It's just 45 degrees C water. You don't need chillers." And so this actually had a huge effect on the market. It sent basically all the chiller manufacturers went tumbling, like set 4 to like 8% the next day. It was crazy. I'm still kind of just like, "Huh? How are you even doing that?" Because I know enough about the problems here that 45C inlet is not enough to keep these things under 80C. There's no way in fucking hell you're doing that. Not possible. And so what I'm hearing is they are basically sacrificing lifetime longevity for sales. And so you have a market that's trying to extend their capex cycles from 4 to 6 years, or from 3 to 6 years, right? They're trying to extend their capex cycles to absorb this cost. And Jensen's coming back and saying, well, I can give you this, but you're not going to get 6 years out of this shit. And actually, I've seen some data. There's a great analysis group, not to plug anybody for free, but Semi-Analysis has this benchmark where people can go and benchmark their chips. And one of the things they're finding is that as NVIDIA releases newer and newer chips, the failure rate's going up. And the failure rate's already like approaching like 10% in 1 year. So if 10% of your chips are failing in 1 year, your 6-year capex cycle doesn't make a ton of sense. So a lot of things I think are going to start coming in to question here from an engineering perspective. Just sanity. We're getting to the point where people are failing sanity checks. Like if somebody tells me I'm dissipating 140 kilowatts in a closet with 45C inlet water for something that can't go over 80C, I'm going to say the fuck you are. Right? And I mean, the math is not in their favor. I mean, I would need to learn more. They would need to show me exceptional evidence to convince me that they're actually achieving that. But what it seems like is happening is they're allowing the lifetimes to go down and the failure rates to go up to make numbers look bigger. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out over the next year. But I think people are going to be a little unhappy. Anyway, that's all I have to say about CES. The big picture was chiller manufacturers took a huge nosedive on that news, and Tesla took a minor dip. But Tesla's not really based on any value proposition anyway. So.
Yeah, and just to put into perspective too, you said it was 165 kilowatts in that rack. Like,
it was something like, so it was a little fuzzy. They say Blackwell's around the 120. I estimated it more around like 170. And now they're saying Vera Rubin's more like 130, 140. They're trying to make it similar. Now they do have a new Vera Rubin Ultra rack where they're like going in. This is coming out later, but basically instead of using the conventional, 1U or 2U units that go into the racks, they're going to flip the chipboards vertical and just put them in like folders in a in like a mail slot, and the density is going to go way up. In that case, I actually don't think that matters a whole lot. I mean, the thing that matters the most is what is the power density at the chip.
Yeah.
So put more chips in. Honestly, mounting them vertically makes a lot of sense, and just packing them in and putting more cold plates makes sense. What doesn't make sense to me is the 45C inlet. That is just...
I don't think anyone's actually going to follow that. I think that if you do, you're kind of stupid.
Well, the whole goal of that, right? Because these data centers are so unpopular, and one of the big talking points, one of the big sticking points with residents in neighborhoods where people want to build these data centers is all the water they're using, right? Because a gigawatt data center is going to use 1 or 2 large water towers per day. Right? And if you're like XAI and you're building a data center in 3 months, they can't build a water tower in 3 months to match your capacity. And so it's a huge strain on the local resources, whether they want to admit it or not, right? Whether it's a lot of water or not, like we can get into that debate. What matters is like what the local residences will allow, and they don't like that. They don't like it at all. And so this whole 45C push is to say, hey, you don't need chillers. You don't need evaporators. You can just dissipate in closed loop. And so you can use less water. So that's the push there. Will it be successful? I don't think so. I mean, it's a trade-off I wouldn't be willing to make as an engineer.
Well, especially with that much money on the line too, like that's crazy thinking that.
If I was running a data center and I had to buy those chips and I had to try to get those chips the last 6 years, there's no fucking way in hell I would put inlet water at 45C into this. No way.
Yeah.
I would quit because it can't be done.
Yeah. No, and I just want to put in perspective too, the 165 kilowatt rack is enough power to run a stage for like a decent sized music festival, like with a capacity, like with an audience capacity of like 5,000-6,000 people. Like, and that's just one of these racks. It's just nuts when you think about how much power this is.
Dork, we've nerded out long enough, and Gherk is literally falling asleep.
Well, let's move on to earnings.
Tell me more about the dynamics of the fluid dynamics of fucking NVIDIA.
You know what? Somebody's gonna love this shit because literally nobody else in this space is talking about this in the way that I am, which is what blows my mind. It's like, can one economic analyst,
4 people in the world that care about the very specific part?
No. But
you do.
There should be a lot more that care.
But we're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars.
Yeah.
Can one of these financial analysts talk to one goddamn thermal engineer? Just one, a single one.
Why would they want to? Nobody
yuck their yum.
Yeah, why are you trying to yuck their yum?
Fair.
They've got all their clients' money riding on this fucking pipe dream, and you're over here trying to shit on their plate.
Well, shit adjacent. Okay. Anyway, all right. Let's get into numbers. Let's move on to earnings because earnings is ramping up, baby.
We
had one earnings, but what about second earnings? Once you think it's over, it starts up again.
We got actually a pretty big earnings too. We got TSMC coming in hot on Thursday morning.
Yeah. We also got banks starting to trickle in.
Does TSMC ever actually make any more money? It seems like
TSMC's doing fine, right? Because they're upstream of NVIDIA. So TSMC apparently, I mean, all the numbers that they're publishing, which I assume are fine, they look great. They look good. NVIDIA obviously still looks good. Their accounts receivable and circular deals are starting to become quite sketchy, but you have to assume that NVIDIA is paying its supplier.
So
TSMC looks great.
TSMC's been kind of at max capacity for like 4 quarters now. Like, where's the I don't understand. Like, I've heard a lot of people talking about TSMC lately. It's been a big hype stock. Like, this is the next mover. It should have been the first.
I don't agree with that at all. Yeah.
I feel like earnings on TSMC is just going to be consistently what it's been, which is we're at max capacity and we're pumping out as many chips as we feasibly can, and this is where our margins hit, unless TSMC has done something substantial with their pricing, in which case watch out tech earnings, right? Especially NVIDIA. So yeah, I don't
the only thing I know that they're building in Arizona. They're building more factories in Arizona, which
are nowhere near being operational.
Well, they are closer than you might think, but they're not going to be cost competitive. So I'm not really.
Well, hasn't TSMC already stated that they just simply cannot find the skilled labor in the U.S. to operate them at capacity? Or even close to capacity, like they're operating like one building on the whole campus or something.
I find that hard to believe. There's plenty of skilled people in this country. I think it's just a matter of what they're willing to pay. I think it's a pricing issue.
Interesting.
Is my guess, because
I'm thinking their complaint is the general labor, not the specialized services that they require.
All right. Well,
there's one
more
bank.
Free information that we're giving out that nobody else is giving out. This country fucking came up with the semiconductor. I mean, we have an academic pipeline that anybody else would dream of in terms of educating, masters and PhD students to go and do this work. There are plenty of those people. We also have, because through the CHIPS Act and other places, we have actually a pretty decent pipeline, even through community colleges that are paying for and training, basically high school kids how to run instruments in a clean room. So you have both a healthy technician and a healthy specialist pipeline in America. And it's one of the deepest pipelines in the world. And so
how deep is it?
It's pretty deep. So like to try to say that you can't find the people, I just don't believe you. You put up the dollars and the people are there. You can't find the people for the prices that you're willing to pay that are competitive with what you're paying, your slave labor in Taiwan.
Yeah. And other earnings, though, there is a bank that is I am interested to see how they do. It's one of the larger banks in America. They're called BlackRock.
BlackRock's not a bank.
No.
Are you sure
there
about
are
that?
bank earnings this week, and they will be.
Yeah, like
they
BlackRock.
actually will be very important.
I think what Dork is getting at is that all of the money from the actual banks is going to non-bank financial entities that is then getting disseminated to other things.
BlackRock. Sorry, excuse me.
I'm giving you a lot of benefit of the doubt here.
I'm keeping an eye on BlackRock now because of that whole thing. I mean, what you should see is as the economy continues to slow, you should actually see the losses. They're going to show up in places you wouldn't expect, like those non-bank financial institutions. BlackRock, Blackstone, it's the alternatives era.
Okay, but because we're recording this on Monday night, this probably isn't going to go out before, but we have JP Morgan tomorrow.
Yeah.
We do.
I think they're going to be fine. They're a giant bank. They'll be okay.
It's all about what they say, right?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
because
they'll talk about consumers.
Because all the growth is in this little black box, right? We've talked about this on the stream.
Yeah.
It's all in the little black box.
Aren't we
so it's all about what they say.
Aren't we gonna start to see like these flatter curves and like higher funding costs hitting these banks' balance sheets?
Eventually.
I think we're also going to hear probably a lot of them talking about how much funding all these data centers are going to need. And they even all got together and stated just about how much funding they think just about how much funding they think is going to be issued in 2026. And the estimates are pretty wide across like the top 10 big banks, but anywhere from 2.25 trillion down to a low of 1.6 trillion.
For just the year 2026?
Issuance, investment grade gross issuance estimates for 2026. Yep.
Oh God. I mean, if they grow to 2 trillion, we're screwed in terms of inflation.
That's why do we want control of the Fed again?
Well, so that we freely give this money out.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. This is going to be if this all goes down how Trump wants, it's going to be such a huge wealth transfer that it's going to be unbelievable. And it's going to be the heist of the century.
Just so people know, the banks pulled there are MS, GS, Wells, DB, Bank of America, Mizu, JP Morgan, BNP, Citi, and Barclays.
Big giant fucking banks.
And that comes from Apollo, actually, who compiled all that together. But yeah,
Thanks,
they're expecting 2.25 to 1.6 trillion.
I guess that explains the urgency in what
that's
Trump
an investment grade issuance. And you know what's even more interesting is that more bonds have been cut from investment grade to junk than at any point since 2020. In 2025, 54,000 bonds were cut to junk versus only 10,000 that moved up to high grade.
Sounds great. Sounds healthy.
That's
Let's go.
awesome. All right, so we got JP Morgan on Tuesday. We got Wells Fargo on Wednesday. Citi, Bank of America also on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, we have Goldman Sachs and BlackRock and a couple other things. And Friday before the open, we have PNC. So we got a week of banks.
Oh, yeah. We got State Street, too, on Friday. That's going to be good.
Yeah, so State Street, and then was there another one I saw? I guess I
JB
included
Hunt.
BlackRock in that list. Yeah, so
Yeah, there's some big boys there. So, yeah, you're right. The earnings calls should be interesting. We'll see
Yeah,
what happens with those.
I'm gonna be very interested in bank earnings for the start of 2026 because I think we're kind of at the point funding wise in the business cycle where we're going to start to see the rubber hit the road, and there's going to be a lot more, I think, friction than people expect.
Well, kind of to piggyback off of this whole bank and AI debt issuance kind of thing, we also have on the other side a bunch of murmurings and news about possible IPOs from various AI entities like OpenAI, Anthropic. I think both of those combined are like 1.5 trillion or close to it. And then we have like SpaceX, which isn't really AI, but still just kind of in the mix, but also somehow almost $1 trillion. And we're basically getting to the point where, I mean, we've already had discussions, people coming out and saying like venture capital, if they don't get a return at some point, they're going to run out of money in like 2 years. And so we're kind of getting to that point where they're starting to tap out and be like, you got to go public. Nobody bought you out. You got too big to buy. So you need to go public. And so that becomes another question of who absorbs, 3 trillion of meme stock debt at the same time, or meme stock equity at the same time you're absorbing 2 trillion of meme debt. Is it too soon to call AI a meme?
No.
Did we get an ad out of Ron yet?
I don't know.
It's time. Okay, hold on. Let's do it correctly. We have to denigrate him. Before we do that, do we have any calendar data? Do we have any economic data that we are excited about this week?
CPI. Everything else
Yeah.
is like pretty much delayed. I mean, I guess not all of it is, but a lot of it is. Like we're getting current CPI, which I mean the last print was bullshit, right? It measured like 2 parts of the entire index.
Yeah, if you assume everything missing is 0, it looks great.
Yeah,
we're getting 2 months of PPI
but
too.
this is
face.
supposed to be like the first like full release of CPI, right? So it's like fully fleshed out and the whole thing's done since the shutdown as we hurtle into our next shutdown, right? But PPI is actually from November, so I don't know if that's going to help things much. And then also probably blank like the prior CPIs were. I think retail sales is also delayed. We are getting December industrial production, which should be interesting because obviously there's a lot of speculation going on in precious metals. If industrial production is in fact picking up, we're going to probably see that start to spill over more to industrial metals, which are still quite cheap. So anybody thinking about commodities in this very
I don't know.
active
I saw
cycle.
the hockey stick graph on aluminum. It kind of made me sad. I was like, shit, aluminum. So it's like one of the cheapest things to work with by weight.
Also, don't forget that Russia controls like most of the world's aluminum.
Oh my God. Aluminum is so great.
Yeah. And they also have a lot of gold and silver, but I went into that conspiracy theory last time. So yeah, I think the data this week, a lot of it obviously largely delayed, but CPI is definitely important tomorrow. NFIB, small business optimism is probably important. Outside
what
of
small
that,
businesses?
Right. Outside of that, probably not too much that's going to be impactful. I don't think import export prices are caught up yet, but those would also be a fairly good gauge of inflation. What we do have is we have a ton of Fed speakers this week. We had a couple today. I don't think any of them spoke on anything policy wise, but with so many speakers, you obviously have a chance of a lot of like policy misdirection, or people getting up to the mic too soon that are overly dovish versus people that are hawkish, and then the market gets swung around on some of that.
No, it's fine because they're data driven.
Sure. And then we do have some big we actually have some big auctions this week following the DOJ's persecution of the Fed. We had a 10-year auction today, which stopped through, which was kind of crazy. But we also have a 3-year auction and 30-year auction this week. Fortunately for the 10-year auction today, I think the Fed bid $11.4 billion prior to the auction, so that probably helped take some of the pressure off the prime dealers.
It's super great of them to do.
It's really nice of them. But we still have a 3-year note and a 30-year bond that need to be auctioned off this week.
I will say the bond traders on X, after they saw that video from J-Pow over the weekend, were up in arms. They were like ready to sell all their bonds, but then today they sold none of them.
Yep.
I mean, bond rates have been pretty milquetoast.
Yeah. No, bond volatility is exceptionally low. Obviously, CPI has a big chance to kick that back into action.
Yeah, I think that's what everyone's really waiting for. Yeah.
So.
Speaking of CPI, do you think that all of the compute manufacturers saying they're going to revert back to DDR4? Do you think that's going to cause a negative hedonic adjustment to the compute factors in CPI? Do they do negative?
It should, right? That's like saying our TVs went back to CRT and got smaller.
Is DDR4 even cheaper? Like, is it that much?
I don't know. I
think they're just out of DDR5.
Yeah, that's why they want to go to DDR4. Yeah. I've got a stick of DDR4 sitting on my nightstand.
You should put that shit up on eBay.
I should.
I got some DDR4 sitting around.
It's a 16 GB.
Shit, right back there is some DDR3.
Man, I can't wait to see all of these NVIDIA Blackwell racks running, a random array of 1 and 2 gig DDR4 sticks from Jensen's high school laptop.
They're all getting they actually can't. There's a lot.
They're getting like the electronics recycling. They're pulling those PCs.
A lot of the RAM is in the package. It's in the CoWoS package.
Yeah, I know. We're just fucking joking. Jeez.
I'm just kidding.
You know what?
I know they can't do that.
I don't want people to think that I don't know what I'm talking about.
God damn it, Ron! Play the goddamn ad, okay?
Yeah, Ron, play the ad. Just
Fall Stars is a GammaStrike podcast. At GammaStrike, we work to present options data and market maker positioning in easy-to-understand and actionable formats to inform your trading decisions. Learn more at GammaStrike.com.
My favorite thing about this podcast is that we're trying to shill an options data platform, and we never talk about options. We should probably fix that at some point. But there's just too much other stuff to talk about.
I thought the entire point of this podcast was for us to just mentally masturbate onto the same cracker.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing, right?
No, okay.
Our options platform is awesome, guys. Check it out. There you go.
We made it. Our big brains made this thing. It's dope.
We suffered a lot to build it, and everything runs on first principles. So,
all right,
fuck
too
you,
much.
Look at
All right. Dork, take it away. You're the MC. See us through.
All right, cool. So for audience questions, don't forget, we put links in all the places we post this. We post on social media before we go on. All those things. Feel free to ask questions on the socials or, on your podcast, whatever description thing. I don't know how any of that works. Ron takes care of that, but you'll find a spot to ask a question somewhere. in the whole smorgasbord of ways to access this material. So our first question, I think, is actually sort of interesting. Me2 on Blue Sky asked, what are the macro impacts on indexes if Japan dissolves the lower house of the DEET? I mean, that's the so for people who are not aware, that's Japan's House of Representatives, and the whole idea is, I'm pretty sure some person I only quickly read about this, but some person wants to dissolve the house and basically do like a snap election to just flush the toilet and bring in new poo.
They do this all the time there.
Yeah. So
yeah, well, they've had like 3 prime ministers in the last year.
Yeah. So I mean, that's yeah.
And the current prime minister is like big on Abenomics, and Japan has like arguably the worst fiscal situation in the world.
How'd that work out for the last guy who was big on Abenomics? Too soon?
Too soon.
Yeah.
So would the more unexpected thing be not doing the dissolution?
Probably, yeah. I would say that if the current regime and head of party stays in power, that would surprise me. Because there's definitely a consensus disagreement that Japan needs to continue its current fiscal policy. And I think even the Bank of Japan is starting to now push back on that. I mean,
you mean raising rates or like
yeah, they've been raising rates.
Yeah. Are you saying that there's pushback on that tightening cycle and they're trying to?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's directly in contrast with the head of the prime minister's goals, which are continued easing.
Oh, so this is a multi-front war between Trump and the Fed, and then you've got the Prime Minister of Japan and the Bank of Japan.
I mean, the Bank of Japan's really just in a position where, like,
they just need to strengthen their currency, and I think that's what the Bank of Japan is trying to. To sort of.
I think the USD-JPY hit its highest levels ever, just like a couple days ago. Leverage in the top end of that trade is still insane. Bank of Japan just raised rates, and they need to raise them again. But I mean, obviously, for a government that wants to continue creating money, and not paying interest on that money, they're in a bit of a pickle, you know.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is interesting.
And Japan's yields are moving right up, right? And that definitely contrasts with the idea of getting people to buy more U.S. bonds, because that's a little over $1 trillion in money that's very likely to move offshore.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is interesting. I mean, so I think the dissolution, in terms of macro impacts, I mean, it just sounds like there's already stuff in motion that is potentially going to help ease things a bit vis-a-vis the carry trade.
I think you're gonna have a contingent in the parliament that will want to stop any continued easing cycles, any yield curve control, any of the Abenomic policies that have put the yen where it currently is, and they want to strengthen the yen. Because being America's little financial bitch isn't really going great for them. And so
I mean, that's that kind of, I think that kind of puts a little bow on the whole, like the reason for the rate path that Japan has embarked upon, for sure. So it will be interesting to see how that plays out going forward if they do flip around their essentially House of Representatives. It sounds like that'll just build momentum or build strength with the opposition to that form of monetary policy. So there could be some stuff there in the medium term, 1 to 2 years. I guess that's still short term. So there's something there, but you just kind of have to watch it and see how it plays out. I mean, I think the Bank of Japan is probably pretty determined to try to get their currency under control. So, we'll see how that plays out. So another question, this one's like price action stuff. Do we want to go over it? Because it talks about GammaStrike stuff, but it's about last Monday's price action. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. You can go ahead and read the question and I can give my brief comments, but I don't know that there's a whole discussion we need to have, but we can certainly talk about it.
Okay, yeah. Let me go ahead and ask the question of you, JFresh. Could you please go over last Monday's, that's Jan 5, 2026, price action, where it opens above the 1-day implied move and gamma neutral, which were about the same price, and spot never fell back below the implied move?
Yeah, so I mean, all I'm going to say about this is that I'm surprised that this isn't happening more often, because right now the 0 day and 1-day vol is just getting destroyed, and even a few day vol getting absolutely destroyed, and just the cost to carry that is so low. Everybody's selling it, and actually, you had notably, I guess, that guy that everybody was calling Captain Condor over the break. He was martingaling, which is a fancy word for saying doubling down.
Yeah, double down. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I just say, I would just like to say, whoever decided that we should call doubling down martingaling can go fuck themselves.
Dude,
because it's
so
so
dumb.
pretentious.
You
and
don't
awful.
understand. It's strategic doubling down.
No, we already had a word for it. It's called doubling down.
It's called degeneracy. Yeah.
Anyway, basically they were selling condors, and every time they lost, they doubled down, because they said over the last 3 years, we've never had 5 days in a row where this trade is lost. And they hit their 5th day and lost, and they got blown up because markets are chaotic, not stochastic, which is you could take that to the bank. If you truly understand what I mean by that phrase, there might be hope for you yet. Anyway, all that to say, people are really selling vol on the few days out, and I'm surprised we're not blowing that out more often. I mean, we blew it out 5 days in a row in December, but yeah. So I don't think there's anything more to read about it than people are overselling vol, and there's natural variations that are occurring in the market just from all of the different players that are participating, that you should expect more vol.
Yeah. I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head there.
I know we've talked about this a couple times before, but I do think a little bit of what's going on is, the thing to look at is the spread between either the 10-day or the 30-day IV and the 1-day IV and historical IV. Because I think that is the thing that they're carrying the longer IV and then trying to recapture some of the cost to carry that by selling 0DTs in the intraday when they can manage it in a high liquidity environment. So there's some of that going on as well. So if you look at those two things, sometimes that makes a little bit more sense of why they're anyway. That's all I have to say about that question.
Yeah. I mean, that about sums it up. Okay. Well, then, do we have any updates? Speaking of the website we're trying to shill, do we have any updates this week?
I don't think so. Just working hard.
Just little homepage adjustments and stuff. Yeah, you and I are going to sit down and argue about some shit. So,
yeah, Ron needs to go.
I think he has to poop.
Yeah, he definitely has got his poop face on.
Yeah, he's shaking his head.
As long as he doesn't stretch his fucking arms like an alien again. I don't care what Ron does. Hold your arms in front of yourself like a fucking human, Ron.
Okay then. Well then, all right. So Ron's got a poo. Why don't we move on? GammaStrike updates can get fucked. The next thing and the last thing is everyone's favorite thing, which is
stupid bits.
Who's gonna win? Who's gonna lose? Who won?
We all kind of won and lost.
Yeah, we didn't put boots on the ground anywhere, but Trump threatened extensively every country we discussed.
Yeah. Cuba, Mexico, and Greenland, yeah.
I think Greenland got the most threats, though, so can we just say I won?
Well, you know what it is? I think Greenland's the one people care about the most because Greenland's a direct threat to NATO, right? And Greenland's also a direct threat to, peace between us and our largest ally. So I think but he definitely was like, I'm going to fucking invade Mexico and I'm going to cut off all those shit to Cuba. And Cuba can't have oil, but they can kind of have oil sometimes. So yeah, he's really been all over the map. You know what country he didn't threaten, which was one that I was going to throw up there originally, was Nigeria. Because Nigeria's got a whole bunch of oil.
Yeah. No, he's going for things that are at least, either North America adjacent or Europe adjacent.
I will say I cannot quantify or support this in any way that is compelling. But I do feel that Dork kind of won, sort of, somehow. Because Greenland did seem to at least get the most recent vitriol, and it did seem to stick a little bit more.
Well, the billionaires got their sights on Greenland from the sounds of things, so I mean,
they want to go a mile down to get their rare earth minerals to make their.
And if we're talking about the people who control the country, I mean, it's them. So, hey, who cares what Trump says?
South Africans in Silicon Valley control the country.
Oh yeah. So okay, we'll say I win, but I mean it's a Pyrrhic victory.
Yeah, you can call it whatever you want.
Yeah. So we'll call I got a Pyrrhic victory. So all right, next thing we got to do though is figure out another stupid bet, or do we let this one ride?
I mean, I think both. We should let this one ride, but also we got to come up with a new stupid bet. Or else
we got
why
bank
did everybody
earnings.
just sit through 2 hours of this shit.
We got bank earnings coming up, and we actually, what we could do is a stupid bet on TSMC. Or we could do meet beat miss on like 7 different banks, including BlackRock, which is a bank.
I hate all this. It's not stupid enough.
It's true.
Yeah, these are all too like plain. We need something more fun.
CPI?
No, CPI is boring. CPI is probably not even real anymore. You know how many people have quit at the BLS?
Okay, how about this then?
Most people couldn't do their jobs in the first place.
How about JPOW getting walked out in cuffs?
Ooh.
Is that where we're at? Or
what color tie is he wearing when he gets walked out in cuffs?
We have to watch somebody get incarcerated to get off.
Well, he's not going to be incarcerated.
What is happening right now?
He's just going to get walked off in cuffs, and you're going to do whatever and let him go. They're going to do the walk, though.
Will he be wearing a safety hat? A construction hat?
So I think what we do is we go with will he walk? Will he get walked? And 2, to make sure we break any ties, what color tie will he be wearing when he gets walked? If you say he will.
I don't think he wears a tie except for when he has to speak in front of people, and then it's just the purple tie he has in his office.
I think he's going to be wearing a 3-piece.
No.
I think he lives in a 3-piece.
That motherfucker lives in sweatpants.
It's true.
Did you see how tired he was in that last video?
Yeah.
He
was
probably
so
wasn't
done with
even
this shit.
He was probably bottomless in that video.
It's just a little sea cucumber poking out of the wizard's robe.
Just like throw this shit on for the 2-minute video and then go back to bed.
Okay, so is that stupid bet not stupid enough, or is it too stupid?
I don't know. I don't know what I'm feeling right now, But for some reason, all bets feel inadequate, and I don't know why.
For not being stupid enough? Being too related to markets?
Well, it just feels like anything could happen, but nothing's going to happen this week.
Yeah.
Which is a weird feeling that I don't know that I've felt in a long time.
What about Trump tacoing on the charges against JPOW?
Well, that would be like, okay, so that adds a wrinkle.
He kind of already did, but what about like taco on the Iran tariff.
I mean, so we got some tacos we can be on the lookout for. We could do taco on JPOW. But I feel like nothing's really going to happen.
What about taco? Hold on. Okay, hold on. This might be the bet. We have all these bank earnings this week, right?
Yeah.
The bet is, does Trump taco on the 10% rate on credit cards?
Oh.
Literally this week with bank earnings.
Oh, shit.
Does he taco on the tariffs?
No, on the he said he's going to limit credit card rates.
Limit on credit cards.
Which is insane.
I mean, now Senator, did you hear Senator Warren's like, yeah, we can pass that bill, no problem.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah,
So
she's MAGA now.
That's probably already killed it.
Yeah, I'm down. I don't mind that at all. I think that
I tried my best. We're all just killing each other's buzzes here.
I think that's a good one. All right, I'm not trying to yuck your yum.
Okay.
So,
what if we could do both?
What, JPOW taco and credit card taco?
Porque no los dos? You can yuck my yum?
I'll try not to with this.
Wait, what are the two bets?
JPOW taco, credit card taco.
All right. More taco, the better.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be Taco Tuesday tomorrow, so.
This makes a lot more sense to have like different legs on a bet because there's 3 of us and most of our bets are you're like yes or no. So you have to have at least 2 layers so that everybody.
That was why I went with a tie color if JPOW gets walked out of the room with cops. Okay. Would you want me to bet? I can bet on this pretty quick. I think I know what's going to happen. I think we get a credit card taco, big beefy credit card taco, but we do not get the JPOW taco. I think JPOW is going to get walked out of that building at some point, just for the spectacle.
Okay, but that's different from a taco.
Really? I think if he walks JPOW out of a building in cuffs, the market's going to tank.
Either in cuffs or by personnel, right? Just walking with him.
Okay. I was just about to say, you sound like an idiot, but this is stupid bets, so this is exactly.
All right. So we've got so Dork saying taco on credit cards, JPOW in front of a grand jury.
And Dork's been right for 2 weeks now.
I'm gonna say taco. I'm gonna say taco on both.
Okay, we're getting double taco.
Oh, God damn it.
Double
you guys
taco.
both took the only ones I wanted to take. So I have to take taco on neither, I guess, because I can't.
That's not true. You could go taco JPOW.
Right, but I'm just gonna go taco neither.
You're gonna go no tacos?
No tacos?
Hungry taco?
He's gonna align himself with Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts and push forward a bill.
Hold on. The degenerative brain disease is winning.
It's true. You know it. I know it. Everybody knows it.
Everyone's saying it. All right. Ron has to go poop.
All right. You got those bets? Oh, fuck. Okay. Fucker.
Thank you for listening to Volstars, a GammaStrike production. Please be sure to subscribe and check out our website at app.gammastrike.com.